Kathleen will join us shortly. I'm assuming nobody's heard from her that she won't be able to attend.
No.
Okay. All right. Very good, folks. Well, welcome to the regular board meeting dated Monday, October 19th, 2020 at 6:01 p.m. Catherine, would you call the roll, please?
Lineham.
Here.
Trustee Sullivan.
Here.
Trustee Wood.
I'm here.
Trustee Mahoney. Trustee Andreessen.
Here.
Trustee Coonsey.
Here.
And President Miller.
Here, we will forego the Pledge of Allegiance this evening and go to public comment on agenda items. If anybody from the public would like to address us on anything on the agenda, now would be your time. Oh, Kathleen, I see is showing up here, so we'll pause for just a moment.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Kathleen. How are you today?
I'm actually in my office at work.
Awesome. All right, we are at public comment on agenda items. Is there anybody out there? Seeing none, we will move forth with the consent agenda. We have 4 items on here. If somebody would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Can I just go so moved? Or do I got to read them all?
Mr. Attorney?
As long as you or the clerk reads the items before the roll call vote is taken, you can so move that they're approved, and then our clerk can read the item.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve the special village board meeting minutes dated September 14th, 2020. And a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the village president and designated village staff to execute an intergovernmental agreement authorizing participation in the Kane County Coronavirus Relief Fund COVID-19 reimbursement program. A motion to waive formal bids and approve the purchase of rock salt from Cargill Incorporated and open a purchase order in the amount of $33,750.00. And a resolution approving an insurance proposal from Alliant Misero Insurance Services Insurance Renewal.
Second.
We have a second, Catherine?
I got a question concerning the waiver of the purchase for the rock salt. We're talking about 400 tons at Cargill's charging us $50.76 a ton. My math does not come out to $33,000, and I need someone to help me before we can approve this. It should be about 20,000 and some change. Why is it 33,000?
So the PO really just covers what we budgeted. So that affords us the opportunity. If we have a bad winter, we can purchase up to the budgeted amount, which is then equal to the purchase order amount. So that's really it. I mean, we're only going to buy what we need during the course of the winter season. So that's the reason for requesting a PO in the amount of what we budgeted, which obviously is higher than what we're anticipating spending. So I don't anticipate us spending $33,000 this year, particularly at that $50 a ton.
No, yeah, and I get that. Okay, so the budgeted amount is 33,000, and we're going ahead and okaying that. That's a little sloppy, guys, because, and I know it would never happen here, but it allows for $13,000 to just magically evaporate, and we don't know where. And without board approval, we don't know what would happen to that $13,000.
Well, we'd have to go to.
Board's already gone ahead and approved. I'm sorry?
It would have to go to Cargill because that's what we're approving.
Well, true enough, but what we're saying is we're approving the purchase or the spending of $33,000, but we're actually only going to be buying from Cargill $20,000 worth. Now, this board has gone ahead and approved the expenditure of $33,000. That doesn't mean that we know it'll come back to us in the form of rock salt. My point is that I really don't know if this is the proper way to do this for the amount. If we're going to waive it, we'll go ahead and waive it for the amount we're going to spend, not for the amount that we budgeted. So I'd like to make that adjustment.
In theory, would that, and again, I'm not being a smart aleck, I'm just asking a question. In theory, if we had a blizzard and we were out of salt, would we then have to convene a special meeting to approve the purchase of salt if we just approved right now the amount that we need and then held back the 13,750.
Perhaps.
Jason, I would authorize that under my spending authority. If there was additional purchase needed, I would do that under my spending authority. So either way, we're fine. I mean, I would authorize up to the budget amount, so it's cleaner. But either way, we would be able to purchase enough salt to meet our needs.
Yeah, I just want to be a situation where it's December 31st at 10 o'clock at night and we get a blizzard rolling in and
Yeah.
feels like, oh, wow, I've got no salt.
Well,
So-
we would
So
allow
Jeff,
that to happen.
so Jeff, more to your point, would you be happier if it read, instead of opening a purchase order, authorizing the purchase for up to 33,750 for the winter of 2020, 2021?
Yes, that's, I guess, one way to, correct it, if you will. I mean, that's the amount we budgeted, let's say. So yeah, we can purchase up to that amount. We know we're getting less. I mean, the way it reads right now, it's pretty cloudy. So if we were to go ahead and correct it by saying purchase up to, then yeah, that would work.
Do we need to put a placeholder or projection in with Cargill? Is that why you went to the max of what we would potentially buy? Or is it a problem to split up the POs based on, doing a 20,000 then 13,750?
The way it was done is essentially, we're encumbering $33,000, 33,750, I believe is the exact amount, towards that line item. So essentially, we as staff have the flexibility to purchase what we need in terms of salt for the coming winter. But of course, if we got to the budget amount of 33,750,
Have to come back.
I wouldn't exceed that without obviously running it by Administrator Johnson. And then, I can't imagine we would go too much beyond that $33,000 amount. The other thing I should point out too is we requisitioned 400 tons of salt. So we are obligated to buy 80% of that amount, but the vendor is also obligated to extend that unit price up to 120% of that amount. So, but that still is below the 33,750. So the chances of us getting to that PO amount that has been requested is probably very slim, but again, it was presented that way to afford us the opportunity so that we wouldn't have to seek additional approvals.
I
If and
mean,
when-
if you were to purchase the 400 tons at the 5046 for the 20-some $1,000, would we even need a motion to do this? Because it'd be under the $25,000 you need to waive the no bid. You would just already have done it, right?
Potentially, but I think this just being being the dollar amount of what was in the budget, it just seemed like the cleanest and the best way to approach it would be to request approval from you as the village board, so that it's approved.
And I also wanted to clarify, we are waiving a village competitive bidding process, but we're accepting the results of a competitively bid state process. So this isn't a true bid waiver. It's just more written as such so the village board can accept that it's been bid by the state.
All right. Well, I don't have any problem with it the way that it's written. I don't think that Phil, under Jennifer's guidance, is going to go crazy and spend all our money on salt, but whatever you guys want to do. If you want to change it so that it's up to 33,750, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm fine
That'd
with
work
either
for me.
way.
That's fine.
Yeah, I'm fine
So
with it.
I will amend my motion to include the verbiage of up to the amount shown in the motion. Does that work?
That's fine.
And I second, or amend my second.
Okay. Any more on the consent agenda? Catherine,
Lionel,
Yes.
Yes.
I'm losing your audio, Catherine.
Trustee Wood,
Yes.
trustee Mahoney,
Yes.
trustee Andreessen,
Yes.
trustee Coonsey,
Yes, please.
and President oh, sorry.
Thank you. All right, we have two items under our regular agenda. I'm assuming this is just our regular business. If I can have a motion on item A, please.
I'll make a motion to approve an ordinance approving variations for rear yard setback and off-street parking spaces for a proposed office building accessory structure in the M1 Limited Manufacturing District at 110 Prairie Lake Road, East Dundee, Illinois, 60118.
Very good. We have a second.
Second.
All right, discussion on this?
I read through this and on its face, I'm okay with it. We have two other lots then that are left over in the Prairie Lakes Industrial Park. The one question I'd have to ask is the TIF, the Prairie Lakes TIF is expired, correct?
No,
We extended it?
no,
No, so explain it to me.
we have time left on it.
Oh, I thought it was already dead. We can't have much time left.
Couple of
Do we
years.
know when it expires?
I believe it's 2023.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So, can I ask then, did Triumph, were they the organization then that brought this new venture in?
Yes, they
I
will.
mean,
They are the current landowners. Yes,
okay. And they
Oh,
own
they
the other
sold-
two lots
they-
as well then?
they sold the property and they're working on the other two empty lots.
Okay. Okay. And do we know, I mean, did we discuss then TIF aid or support?
They have not
didn't
asked
see anything
for
on
it.
that.
They're moving
Okay.
forward without it. They're on an aggressive timeline. And you have to remember the development was incentivized in the beginning. So the developer received funds for infrastructure and things that were put in place at that time that have since been paid off.
Right.
So
true
it
enough.
has, in a way, been incentivized already.
Right, but 20 years down the road, which is where we're at now, I'm just wondering if they're saying, oh, we've got somebody to come in. If you can work up some TIF money, we can make it happen. So the setback though on the east end, the corner where the water facility is, the water tower, I realize it indicated that there wasn't going to be any issues as far as accessibility to that, but we're absolutely sure on that, correct? I mean, in the event that we ever had to do any major renovation or excavation to that land around that water tower, we're going to be pretty much stuck. So I just want to make sure that we're not going to be in a position where we are.
Isn't there already access to the water tower?
There is, but it's going to be significantly reduced because of the setback.
Wow.
And the corner of that building, I mean,
Significant.
well, I mean, it goes to the east. It's cutting the setback by more than half. And so I just want to make sure that everyone's comfortable with the idea that if we ever have to do any major work around that water tower, that this may pose an issue. And I'm just want to make sure that everyone's cool with the idea that we won't have that issue.
Joe Hines, can you please speak to this since you completed the review?
Sure. So the setback is only on their property, and the village property is unaffected by the setback request. So whatever the village would need to do in the future, they would have to do on their property, and there are no changes.
Right. No, I realize that, but I'm just wondering if in the event that we ever had to do something major, we might have to, if that building weren't there, for instance, we would probably, we might end up having to encroach a little bit onto that for purposes of any repair or renovation that we did. We still have that ability to do that, correct? I mean, as long as we're cool with what we're doing, I just want to make sure
We don't
that
have the ability right now because it would be beyond the boundary of the village, and there aren't any easements or anything in place that are being encroached or proposed to be encroached.
Okay. Well, that's more of a legality as opposed to a reality. You know, I don't know what sort of work would have to be done in the event that, you know, like for instance, I don't even know what, certainly not painting. That wouldn't be as much an issue because you can certainly access it. But just as long as we know that whatever room we're giving up,
We're not giving up room that's on their property. So we would need their permission to access their property to do anything in the future anyway.
no, I get that. I understand that. What I'm worried more about is the room even available more than could we use it, you know? So I don't know, as long as we're good.
Yep. All right. Anything else on item A? Catherine?
Trustee Lineham,
Yes.
trustee Setup,
Yes.
trustee Wood,
yes,
trustee Mahoney,
Yes.
trustee Andreessen,
Yes.
and trustee Coonsey.
Yes.
Very good. That takes us to item B, which is a motion to waive formal bids and improve a street improvement project to Arrow Road Construction in the amount of $119,000, $809.28.
I'll make a motion to waive formal bids and approve a street improvement project to Arrow Road Construction in the amount of $119,809.28.
Second.
second,
Yeah, I gave you the opportunity there just to say so moved, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
You read it.
That's what I was
I felt bad
thinking.
if Scott read the
Wanted
other
to
one.
hear his voice.
help
bad for the
out
other
there,
one.
man. Discussion on this.
Yeah. Help me
Uh,
out.
I,
Go ahead, Scott.
I mean, I drove all these roads and they're all bad. I don't deny that, but we have a lot of bad roads.
Yep.
Some of our roads don't even have pavement on them at all. Well, at least one road, which I recently learned during our Max Welton issue. I'd love to hear the story behind that sometime.
One of these days.
Don't do anything to it. My dogs like it just as is.
I'm just wondering, you know, I guess I'm wondering why these sections specifically. I mean, we're just going based on these ratings. Who made the ratings? Heinz made the ratings? Okay.
That's correct.
So, I mean, it was hard for me to tell the difference, I guess, between this section of bad road and this section of bad road at times. But I guess if you guys have a method, then I will trust that. Do we have plans for the future to do more than this?
Yeah, absolutely. We always do. We always need to pave more roads. So hopefully next year.
Without question, yes.
We've tried to have a road improvement project every single year, even if it's minor. This one was deferred because of the coronavirus, but because we were able to recover some funds that we've recovered funds that have not been expended, like because they're allowing us to cover salaries, it puts us in a better financial place than we thought we would be at budget time. And this is probably the most important deferred project just because Public Works will have to respond and make repairs during winter because of the conditions of some of this road. And then with River Street, we just don't want to be in a situation where everything's open again and now we're resurfacing River Street and interrupting the businesses again.
Right.
So we thought we should tackle that while everything's shut down. So
But only a small portion of River Street.
yeah, just a small portion. Yes, because Phil, can you speak to why it's a small portion?
Yes, well, the worst block of River is between Barrington and Railroad. So twofold. One was because it's the worst section of River, but also as Administrator Johnson indicated, that particular block is where most of our special events occur. And so we thought that by addressing it this year, we wouldn't interrupt the special event season next year.
Okay.
So the balance of River Street is in, I have the ratings here, is in better condition than that particular block adjacent to the depot.
Mhm.
The scores are quite a bit higher.
Is this Arrow? Are they the ones that did the South Van Buren resurfacing a couple of years ago?
They were in town 2 years ago and performed our street improvement project where they redid Barrington in front of the Village Hall. Gosh, I have to remember off the top of my head some of the other streets, but they also did extensive patching throughout the community back in 2018. So they were. I can't speak to Van Buren. Perhaps Joe Hines might have a recollection on that.
Yes, they were.
Okay. And why are we doing this as a no bid rather than trying to try with other contractors? Just because of the experience we've had with these particular people, or the
No,
speed?
this idea came up about several weeks ago, late September, and there wouldn't have been time to put a full competitive bid out late September, early October, and then have time to complete the project before the end of the season. Typically, the asphalt plants close around Thanksgiving, which give or take, depending upon the weather. So the thought is to solicit a proposal, also recognizing that Arrow had recently bid projects in both Elgin and also Sleepy Hollow. And so we had the opportunity to compare their prices in our proposal with these competitively bid situations in both Elgin and Sleepy Hollow. Sleepy Hollow being the more recent. And that was touched upon in my memo.
Okay.
It coincided with the fact that we realized we weren't going to receive funding. So we never knew, if any funding was going to be received at all for the coronavirus. So once we found out we would have funding, we didn't have time to competitively bid the project. So we just went to the neighboring towns who had bid the project and asked if we could use their prices, which happens often. So we have to pay a little bit more here because of mobilization, because our streets are in different locations within the village and they're not necessarily adjacent.
Right.
But we do feel good because we were able to look at their unit prices for our project.
Okay.
Not really comfortable with ever implementing a no bid situation. I really believe that if we had the funding that all of a sudden materialized, that we could have easily taken at least 3 companies and said, look, the clock is ticking. If you are interested in this contract, bid it out. We need your answers in 3 days. We could have gotten it. So, I'm going to go along with this time, but I'm really not comfortable with the idea of no bidding such a high cost item. So.
Okay, anything else on this?
Yeah, I had a question.
Yep.
Why are we looking at resurfacing King from Reese to Oak, but only patching at a 2 rating, but only patching King from the north end to just south of Oak, which has got a worse rating? And then obviously there's other Bonnie Dundee and Hawthorne that are, or actually just Bonnie Dundee that's got a worse rating. And just looking at patching that.
Is the lower rating, I took the lower number as worse than the higher number.
That's correct. So the lower the number, the worse the rating. And it's essentially a 1 through 10, 10 being close to a new surface, 1 being
Got it. Okay.
the worst. So Bonnie Dundee that's a great question. Bonnie Dundee was chosen because of the volume of traffic. And there are some areas between the existing patches that are starting to fail. Again, because of the volume of traffic, this one was prioritized.
Okay.
And same with Wilmette too. We've gotten actually quite a few complaints on Wilmette.
Yeah.
They've done some patching up there as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, anything else on this one? Catherine?
Trustee Lineham,
Yes.
trustee Setup,
Yes.
trustee Wood,
yes,
trustee Mahoney,
Yes.
trustee Andreessen,
Yes.
and trustee Coonsey.
Yes.
All right, very good. You have your financial reports in your packet, so I'm not going to go over that. I'm just going to give you a quick update on the local numbers if I can. They're not doing good, guys. Things are getting a little scary out there. Oh, I got host disabled participant screen sharing, so I can't do that. Is that
Oh,
something you
we can do
change?
that. We can do that.
All right, let's see if we can do that. I'm just gonna pop up my
Okay.
quick daily chart up here for you. Let me know when that's ready.
I just made co-host for you, Leo. Can you
Okay,
try
got
it again?
Got it, got it. All right. Well, that worked out good. Okay, so I'm running the numbers on a daily basis here, and I just wanted to show you what we're looking at. If you take, I don't know, any town out of here, I'm just gonna make it us so you can see what I'm talking about, and it'll be much easier to deal with. Sorry. Here's little old East Dundee. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. March, April, May, not good. Those were our worst numbers ever. June, July, hey, we're doing good. August, whoops, fell off the bus. September, even worse. We have 2 weeks left to go in October. Okay, so that means our October numbers are probably going to be close to double what September's were. Everybody around us is doing the exact same thing. If you look at, I'm just going to put in the local guys here. And again, I can't put in Carpentersville because their numbers are so far off the charts. It's scary. We'll add Sleepy Hollow, and I will add West Dundee. Everybody's doing the same thing. Some better than others, but not by much. West Dundee, you can see here in red, is a little bit less than half. I mean, sorry, a little bit more than half. Sleepy Hollow, on the other hand, their numbers are going up dramatically too. So I'm not going to belabor the subject other to say that it's all going in the wrong direction and it's going quickly. I was on a call today, Administrator Johnson and I, with King County Health Department. They agree totally. And they're suggesting that things are going to get bad this winter, and that us local municipalities do everything we can to contain this thing, which not real helpful, but I don't know how else to put it. It's going to be a long winter unless something changes. And, you know, the next steps are, as we look at this, governor just put Region 5, I believe, back into mitigation, Tier 1. I think when he did Region 1, they went directly to Tier 2, if I'm not mistaken, which means that Tier 1 basically says that the restaurants all have to be indoors again. They enforce the number of seats. We don't want that to happen, obviously, because we like our restaurants and we like our bars. Tier 2 immediately just says, yeah, no indoor gatherings, period. So it's even more restrictive. So I got to tell you, looking at the numbers and the way that they're going around here, I don't know if we're going to make it to the end of the month before they start tightening up restrictions. There's nothing that I can do about that, but I've already started letting some of the local people around here know that that could be coming. So the only way we're going to stop the spread of this thing is just to, you know, use common sense, masks, hand sanitizers, and distance. And if the number goes in the wrong direction, then we stand a chance of losing quite a number of our businesses. So enough about that. If you have any questions or you need to see reports on this, you have any other ideas on this, I'm more than willing to work with you guys individually. All right, let's go around staff reports. Village administrator.
Oh, do you want to do the rest of the board first? Sorry, I did rework the agenda, so it's confusing.
I'm making it up. Okay, yeah, I'll do
Yeah,
that.
I just consolidated it so it wasn't such a long list of people, but
That's
if
fine.
you want to do the board first.
We will do that. Trustee Coonsey.
Well, I went on a tour of the Quadcom facility. I figured as being our representative for Quadcom, it would be a good idea to do that, to see what they do. I just want to tell you guys, they are understaffed. Right now they have, on average, 2 people manning the phones and 1 supervisor. If somebody can't make a shift, that leaves 1 person and 1 supervisor answering the phone for emergencies. You know, they are looking for people. They have a hard time finding people. They have a hard time holding on to people because it's a stressful job. And maybe I should just say what I'm talking about here, but this is the 911 facility in Carpentersville. You know, I don't know. I guess I wanted to get all your guys' feelings on that before I go back to the next Quadcom meeting.
So I guess the question I would have for you, Scott, is what is their process for, you know, is this a budgetary issue, or is this that they've got the budget and they just can't hire the people?
Yeah, I would say it's both really, because I think they're budgeted for one more set, which they have to hire 3 of everybody for their 3 shifts.
Yep.
But right now they're trying to get another supervisor, and then they're going to try and get 3 more dispatchers on call. So maybe 3 is enough. You know, that's probably enough, barring some major catastrophe. That's probably enough.
Well, so all the municipalities that participate fund that operation. I'm just going to ask the question then, if they needed to have their budget increased, I'm sure there's a process for that, and then we would, you know, say yay or nay. I don't know.
Right.
Something that goes on. Is that a taxpayer referendum, or is that something that the municipalities decide?
Well, I guess I'd have to ask Jennifer, but I don't think it's a taxpayer referendum. I think it's more us making, well, it would be me, I think, making a motion in the executive board to say, you know, we want to increase the budget for them to add, you know, this position. I don't know that that's what needs to happen. Like I said, right now, I think she's trying to find more people, and having a hard time with that. But I just want, you know, I'm just trying to let everybody know where it's at right now, I guess.
Okay.
Hey, Scott, this is
Yeah.
Kristen. Did you have an opportunity to ask her what their recruiting numbers are and actual recruiting events? Because my sister was a dispatcher in Elgin, and they were not, from a leadership standpoint, very supportive of recruiting events at community colleges and whatnot, where you can offer a good starting salary to kids or young people that have college or, you know, bachelor's or even just an
I mean,
associate's.
the only requirement for employment there is a high school diploma. So they do all
Agreed.
training. You know, I think it's a good opportunity for somebody. I will talk to her about that. That's a good point. I don't know what
Yes.
they're doing.
And obviously with them being low in staffing right now, I know one of the issues in Elgin was allowing dispatchers, most selected dispatchers would be supervisors, of course, or high performing non-supervisory dispatchers, but having them be able to receive overtime to attend recruiting events. I don't even know what the status is for those right now, but that is a really great place to start to get good qualified candidates, especially in today's environment where young people are looking for jobs that pay a decent wage. And I know those positions do.
Yeah.
Yeah, Scott.
So yeah, I would just ask her about it.
Discussing a management aspect of this, I don't know that it's really affecting us. I mean, it's good to know these things, but the management of this and the budget money and how to spend it in the most, you know, expeditious way is really up to them.
Yeah, I would just suggest that if perhaps you can come out with what we should say, we could certainly put something in the electronic newsletter and put something on the sign that they're hiring. I mean, you know, we can all help them out by doing something like that at little to no cost.
So one thing I wanted to bring up too is beyond just being the emergency number, it's the number that our residents call during non-business hours.
That's absolutely correct. It is the non-emergency number for East Dundee during the weekends and nights.
Right. Which doesn't necessarily always constitute, you know, like an emergency, police need to come, but there are, you know, observations and that kind of thing that can be reported. So do they feel like they are having, it sounds like this is your opinion, or what else did they express did they express anything with regards to like the non-emergency issues that were called in after hours.
She did not express any,
Okay.
any opinion as it being a negative or anything like that. But she did say anytime somebody calls, they got to create a, call log for it and everything like that. So it does take time,
Well,
Yeah, George.
Sergeant Andy Ritter is with us for an item that's coming up. Sergeant Ritter's wife is a supervisor at Quadcom. Is there anything, Andy, that you can add here?
I would add they are highly understaffed. That is an understatement that I hear about frequently. Unfortunately, so just for an example, a lot of times they'll work an 8-hour shift. They'll go home because they're forced for extra overtime. There's like a mandatory overtime where my wife will go home, sleep for 4 hours, try to sleep, and then come back and work another 4-hour shift. And then come back, you'll be off for 4 hours and then come back and work for 8 hours. So a lot of that overtime is very draining, and it is a stressful job. I mean, I've heard some of the calls that they take and they are not treated very well. Some people they are, but a lot of times they get yelled at quite a bit. So it is a very stressful job.
Hey, Andy, this is Kirsten.
Yep.
Did your wife have any commentary about their recruiting process? I know it's a long time before we get out of training, but.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure there is a strong recruiting process, at least right now. And I'm not exactly sure what it is. So I'm trying to be careful not to overstep my bounds there.
Sure.
Well, I can tell you it's a combination of classroom training and, of course, on the job training. They have a field training program, much as police officers do.
Yeah, I think the question that's being asked here is, are they spending their time and efforts in the right way as to recruiting the number and the quality of people that they need, not necessarily once they get there and on the training.
Yeah, sometimes
corporations, especially with businesses that have a high turnover rate, restaurant businesses, for example, run ads constantly. So I'm glad you brought this up, Scott. Let's keep an eye on this and see where this goes. I don't know if I have an answer for this tonight because I'm not sure I know exactly what the problem is, but obviously.
Right. I mean, I don't know what the question is even. I just was taken aback a little bit by the reality of what's going on there. And I thought, I really share it.
Well, all right. Well, we can certainly discuss this. I don't know what I have to offer at this point other than obviously our support. If they were to come back to the municipalities and say that they need to increase their budget or they need to do this or that, then that's certainly a discussion that we could have. But I would think that it would be upon them to come to us and say, this is what we need to, solve the situation.
Sure.
So appreciate that though.
All right.
Anything else?
No.
Trustee Sullivan.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Amanda for helping me set up the new email.
Yep.
With one phone call and one email, she got the job done. Thank you.
Trustee Wood.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Amanda too, because the instructions I received were spot on. I had no trouble downloading the new email to both my computer and my iPhone. So thank you, Amanda. And what else? I had one other thing. I can't remember it, but if I do, I will call back or I will ask again. So that's it.
Trustee Lanham.
Yeah, just a couple items, two of which were ones that I raised in a previous meeting, the stop sign at Railroad and River. George, I would like, if you could, just to give some thought to this. I've done a lot of observation on this, and everybody stops in all four ways at River and Railroad right there by Calendo's. And I think it would probably be a good idea if we put a four-way stop in there. So I'd like to know, do I need to, in order to get something on the agenda or on the board, do I need to get somebody else to double that up as far as support for it, or?
Trustee Lineham, we've discussed this internally, and so there's a couple of things that we will need. One is we have to get a history of traffic accidents. because you have to have some engineering support in order to put up a stop sign. So we do have it on our list, and it is something we're working at, looking at from an engineering perspective, whether a stop sign would be supported at that intersection, but we have to do that work in order to make a recommendation one way or the other.
Okay. Other item is the, again, I've mentioned before, the dumpster at Fireman's Park on 3rd, unsightly at best. And so we'd like to know if we need to either talk to Flood Brothers or the fire department to get that moved off to the side and perhaps put up a barrier to shield it. The other question is about Dickens and Dundee. Is that a no-go for this year? Do we know? I know earlier when we talked about canceling all the events for the year, Dickens was still a question mark. And so I'm wondering if, you know.
I was holding off on making that decision until we got through the year, just to see where we were at. And
well, we're at the end of October, of course, and you know, it's not, you know, an event that can be done in a week. So I'm just.
No, and the problem with that event is that even though it's done outside, it's a tightly packed group of people, both at the depot, in a tent, and then wandering around the streets. And then,
well, right.
I'm not thinking that this is going to be a good year for Dickens, but right. I'm going to hold off a little bit longer. It's not like it really takes a whole lot of effort on our part. I say that jokingly, Jennifer, because I know that you guys do a lot of work for that. But even if we were to do something, it certainly wouldn't be of the, you know, the scale of what we did. You know, can we do the walking windows? Can we do it without the tree lighting and the choir so that we don't have masses of people going down there that are packed in? I mean, you've been down there every year. You see how packed in it is. I'm not going to recommend that we do anything even close to that scale this year.
The county has, in our meeting today, they specifically asked us not, as a reminder, not to have social gatherings of 50 or more. So that's part of it. You know, what do we do to set the example? I think I see other places are hosting events when they shouldn't be. So we have discussed, just so you know, we're going to reach out to the businesses and really encourage them to do something to participate by using their windows. And we've talked about and purchased like additional lighting just to make it look better down, even better. It always looks great, but we're going to make the downtown look as good as we can, and we're going to put it up early. I mean, we're talking like Phil's talking like next week. So that's what we think we can offer at this point safely. I mean, we're open to doing anything, but keep in mind, we're not supposed to be encouraging social gatherings of more than 50 people.
We're still going to be decorating the tree, correct?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
yes.
So we wouldn't be having tight groups of packed people down there with a tree lighting ceremony. But other than that, people would be free to walk around and partake of our businesses, etc.
Yeah, we really want to, you know, as great as Dickens is, our decor down there is just as good, like throughout the season. So we just figured we'd put it up earlier and make it a little bit better. And at least that will help the businesses, I think, because it is really breathtaking, you know, during the holiday season. So that's what we're trying to do. We can certainly do other things, but I wouldn't recommend the Santa or the hot cocoa or anything like that.
Jennifer, I just want to say I think that's a great idea with increasing the amount of decorations, making them earlier, and maybe we can even post something on our Facebook page or our the East Dundee website, letting people know that although we can't do organized events for the holidays, we have done what you just stated and encourage people to just come down and visit and, you know, stop at the restaurants and shops.
You know, the other thing I'll throw out there too is I don't know if we've done this lately, and if we have and I've forgotten about it, then oops. We used to have like house decorating contests. You could certainly do something like that around where people just drive by and then vote online for, you know, who they think the best house, the best business, the best whatever is. I mean, that's one way of capturing the spirit, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I like that idea, as well as if there was some way to do a kind of a selfie spot, you know, the big chair is there, but having it with a decal that says, you know, holiday 2020.
COVID Christmas.
Yeah. So that we are welcoming, we can show that we are welcoming people to kind of do a walk around.
Yeah, we'll look at that. Sure. All right, trustee Lenham.
Yeah, and the only other thing was that now that the depot has been painted and shored up from the gutters down, Phil and I, we talked about doing the roof, and I was wondering if that was something we were gonna try and get in this year or not. And also too, just, we need to discuss further on, but the idea, the prices, Phil, that you had thrown out there were absolutely absurd. So we need to have a little discussion on that. But the idea of getting the roof done, I'm just wondering if that's.
What was your previous point? I missed that.
I'm sorry?
You said previous point of something was absurd and I missed that. What was the comment?
Oh, the prices that we talked about. Phil and I had a discussion about, one, having it done, two, some of the prices that had been received to get it done. And I can't even imagine that.
So you were saying you want to go with a no bid contract and just.
Absolutely not. Especially, you know, with some of the numbers that were communicated to me were just, like I say, they were just absurd. I can't even believe that.
Right. We'll get good numbers.
Somebody would be legitimate to even offer those kind of prices. But so I'm just kind of curious as if that's something that we thought might be done this year, or is it going to be, you know, next spring or what? So just.
We are planning on
think
bringing
about it.
that back as an agenda item in November, and we're hopeful that we'll be able to get that done. And we also are working on the estimates for the signage on the depot. So we'll bring both of those items back, hopefully next meeting.
Good.
That's our plan.
Hey, Jennifer, I have a question regarding the holiday decor. Are we planning on incorporating the new village branding into any of the decor that we'll be going forward with from this point?
That's a good question. I don't know. That's my honest answer. I haven't thought about it, but I will think about it now. Good question. Thank you.
Okay.
And I'll add that I've heard it mentioned, I think that Phil was thinking of starting next week on the Christmas stuff. Can we wait until after Halloween to start on Christmas? I mean,
That's a
We'll
good
have it turned
idea.
on.
Yeah, we'll leave it off. Just lights.
sorry, Phil.
It's all right.
Trustee Andreessen,
No report.
trustee Mahoney.
Yeah, I just had one thing I wanted to raise. A couple weeks ago, there were big material trucks going up and down Bonnie Dundee, and then just our conversation about the for the Max Welton project, as well as the street surfacing program that we've all been discussing. And something I'm next door neighbors to somebody who used to be a trustee back in the 80s. And I was always under the impression that Bonnie Dundee was a no truck route. However, it's not posted as a no truck route. And especially with the fact of, I can get widths of the roads or whatever, but that road is too narrow to have a center line down the center of it. According to IDOT standards, that road does not have, it has soft shoulders. There's no curbs, there's no gutters, there's fall offs. And then also on top of that, we have that compromised culvert down at Bonnie Dundee and Ravine. So if not temporary, I would like to, and also back in the 80s or in the 90s, even school buses, D300 thought it was too dangerous to have school buses on that road because of the elevation changes, the curves, and because of the drop-offs on that road. So I'd like to understand if it is truly a no truck route, to get it signed. If it isn't, if we could look at it a little bit more, if we could look at that and what it would require to do that. And if it's going to be too much as a long-term effort, if we can at least get some signage up there that, you know, heavy trucks should not be driving on this road at this time, because it is definitely compromised. The culvert is compromised. I did end up talking to the truck owner, the trucking company owner, and let him know about it. And then I went to go search for the no truck route signs, and sure enough, they weren't up. So I'm hoping we can put that on the agenda and take a look at it. There is a tremendous amount of traffic, and I think it's only going to get worse once the and heavier again once the Huntley Road and over in Carpentersville across the Main Street Bridge gets opened up again, so that it's traffic going both ways consistently, and you don't have that detour and workaround that's been going on up at 31 and on the other side of the river and over near Otto.
Hey, Kathleen, can I ask you who the truck owner was that you were speaking to?
Sure, Steve Barrett.
Okay, and what's the operation that he runs?
Barrett Trucking.
Okay.
Yeah. And I met him a week later when I was walking the dogs. So, I mean, it's all good. It's more the safe, you know, I was expressing to him the safety of his team and his drivers and himself, because he was driving one of the trucks, because those were all, I mean, they're, and then there's concrete trucks coming through, concrete mixing trucks coming down for that as well. So there's also lots of school traffic, trucks. The ARA truck comes down there all the time. So it's pretty frightening, you know, as especially with COVID and all the gyms being closed, that has become, in this whole neighborhood, is very recreational road. There's a lot of people walking their dogs, walk with families, riding bikes up and back from the bike path. So I'm concerned about the safety and the welfare of the people on such a narrow, and it's a very scenic road as well. So, you know, it's a fun way to drive, nice way to drive, right?
Well, let's give staff some time to come back with some fact finding and recommendations for us, and we'll take it from there. But thank you for your point. Okay, any trustees that I missed this evening? I don't think so.
No, but it's Kirsten, and I remembered what I was going to ask. I was going to ask Phil how his guys were that tested positive.
Oh, yes. Good question. I was asked to give a quick update. One of our employees has been asymptomatic throughout or since he tested positive. And the other one did come down with some symptoms and appears to have fully recovered. Both of them have gone in for follow-up testing, retesting, and but no results have come back yet on either one.
Good.
Well, that's great news. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd also like to just make one last comment too, if I could, just to thank Phil's guys, Nick, Brian, Greg, and Pete. At different times, they all lended a hand with getting the depot done. Some repairs that I wasn't able to get to and so forth. So I'd like to extend the thanks to them.
Good.
I'll let them know for sure.
Thank you. All right, Administrator Johnson.
Right.
Okay, thank you. I would just like to, again, thank Brad, Amanda, and everybody on the department head team for their efforts in making the IT transition as smooth as possible. We're still working out some bugs. If you are having anything on your end, please let us know. We'd rather address them up front, but we were quite pleased. We were able to make payroll and that was things like that, you know, where when your systems are down and you don't know. So thank you to especially Brad for his work on that. I also want to thank Trustee Lynham for painting the depot. It looks really great, and we did put some stuff out there, but I wanted to just thank you now that I am seeing you over the computer. Thank you for doing that. It's highly appreciated. I also have, now I'm looking for my notes. A couple of things I wanted to bring up right before we started our meeting. President Miller asked about shirts. So we can circulate, and we will circulate to see if you have any interest in getting a shirt with the village's new logo on it for you. So Catherine, expect an email from Catherine on that, and let us know if you would like one. Also, of course, if you've picked up your masks, they are at the Village Hall for you to pick up your engraved mask. Two other things. I know you guys like to know what's going on in the downtown. So coming before the Historic Commission is a new awning sign for the Uncommon Palette, and it looks like the name will be Eastside Cafe, Coffee and Wine Bar.
Yep.
I just wanted to pass that along, that it looks like Kate's going to change the name of the place. I think it's a great choice. Very exciting. Oh, you have a business card.
Oh, so she changed it from, she had it as toast for a while.
Yep.
Or rumored to be. Yeah. We thought it was going to be toast. Yeah. And then we also, the Historic Commission is going to be hearing in the upcoming meetings about the proposed addition for 1 East Main. So it looks like that is going to happen, a second story addition, not the full size of the building, but it is a substantial facade improvement. So that'll be a great thing to see. And it looks like they're moving forward on that. That's all I have, unless anybody has any questions for me.
No chance they're gonna go 4 stories on that?
I wish.
Hey, Jennifer.
And close Water Street. Just kidding.
Hey, Jennifer, do you know what they're going to put in that second story? Are they going to expand the current business?
It's the offices of the new owner. Isn't that
Got
correct, Chris? I saw Chris on the phone somewhere.
Yeah, that is correct. It'll be his office space.
Okay.
He is the owner of the building and his mom owns the salon.
Okay, yeah, I don't know if it was him or not, but I saw some people painting the building out there a couple weeks ago and stopped and said hello. The other question I have, what's the status on DC Cop?
That, I did an inspection there today and they're probably another 30 to 45 days out before they're
Got it.
open.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Village Attorney.
No report this evening. Thank you.
Chief, we'll go right to you then.
Thank you, Lael. And I'd like to introduce Sergeant Andy Ritter, who is with us this evening. Coincidentally, Andy, who I'm giving a commendation to tonight, today celebrating the end of his 11th year of employment with East Dundee. Andy, 11 years, you've been Sergeant what, 5?
7.
Oh, goodness, time flies. Okay, so ordinarily I would be doing this, of course, in person. This is a new experience for all of us. But I will read what this says in a moment. And I'll present the commendation to Andy probably tomorrow. The department commendation presented to Sergeant Andy Ritter says, on June 5th, 2020 at 11 p.m., Sergeant Ritter was observing conditions near Bandito's Bar. The bar had a line outside and staff was allowing entry of people only when patrons were leaving. Sergeant Ritter observed a man who appeared to be loitering in the area. Shortly thereafter, he saw the same man running down the sidewalk carrying an armload of clothing. Sergeant Ritter gave chase on foot, captured and safely arrested this man, who had just burglarized a building next to Bandito Barney's and stolen clothing items that are stored there for sale inside Bandito's. Sergeant Ritter recovered all of the clothing items. the Highland Park, Illinois man was charged with felony burglary. This commendation recognizes Sergeant Ritter's alert patrol, self-initiated action, and safe arrest of a fleeing burglar. The result of these is keeping East Dundee safe for residents and businesses alike. And I would like to tell everyone, it is rare indeed to catch a burglar without being even dispatched, to the location. So doing this in a self-initiated manner is definitely deserving of a commendation. Most police officers can work a whole career and not have that opportunity. So Andy, congratulations to you. Thanks for the great work.
Thank you. Thanks, George. Appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Nice job, Andy.
Way to go, Andy.
Woohoo!
Let that be a lesson to all swag thieves from Highland Park.
No kidding.
Right.
They come from,
Well deserved.
and I'll tell you, Banditos attracts them from far and wide, huh?
Yes, they do. All right.
And that concludes my report, Leo.
Very good. Sarge, you don't need to stick around if you don't want to. I'm sure you've got a life.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good evening,
No
everybody.
problem. See you later. Thanks. All right, Phil.
No report this evening.
Awesome. Joe Hines.
Report.
Wow. Okay. That leaves building department.
A little update on Caterpillar. They're moving along pretty briskly over there, getting a lot of curb and gutter in. They hope to be able to get almost all of their concrete on the outside poured before the season closes. They did also get their IDOT approval for their intersection. I don't have a schedule on when that's going to begin, but I will follow up with them and then let everybody know so we can get that on our website and let folks know that there's going to be some construction traffic delays there.
Okay.
Will Speedway open up once that IDOT approval is given?
Speedway is
anything
more
about that?
associated with the signal. This is not the signal work. This is the road work for the four-way interchange.
Okay.
That's
there's-
coming, though. We do have the IDOT's attention now. That's why we were able to get this fourth leg approved. And now we're circling back to the signal discussion, but it looks like that's coming, just not this calendar year.
Awesome.
Wow.
Okay.
What a waste.
All right. That brings us to public comments from anybody on anything. Anybody going once?
Nope.
Going twice? All right, we have no executive session this evening, unfortunately, so that means I'm gonna have to ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a
Second.
Second? All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Folks, thank you all for your service. We will see you later.
Have a good night, man.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Thanks.